Hey, before we get started, we got to talk about one thing. I did a bit of looking around before I published this video and read some things and called some people and talked to some people and got some second and third opinions because there seems to be some discrepancy as to whether or not this thing is a waist swivel. From what I can tell, it does not. There is some movement if you start untabbing stuff and unlatching stuff. To me, that doesn't count. Now, if the final version, which this isn't, does, all the better, disregard that criticism. But if it doesn't, everything stands. Let's go. Let's go. Get in here.
What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Switchsider's favorite nerd. Today we are looking at the Fanstoys Phoenix, which is their Jetfire, Skyfire, however you feel like rolling with that name. A lot of people have been looking forward to this figure, including myself, and we're going to talk about it. This is a huge unit, so we're going to do it the best we can in terms of capturing as much as the details and nuances in frame, and also, so basically, I guess what I'm saying is he may not always be in frame in order to completely show you the ins and outs of this thing as far as I can tell. Let me first say this was sent to me by Hung from 215 Toys. The dude's been good to me, and he doesn't have to send me this stuff. He doesn't even want me to shout out 215, but I want to because of how much love he's shown me. So shout out to him. And I think we're going to be seeing each other in Jersey here shortly, NJCC. If you're in the area, come through. But there is a lot to talk about here. And I got to see Logan tonight, so I got to get myself prettied up. It's not easy. I know I make it look easy. You know what I mean? So let's move through this as quickly, but also as efficiently as we can. And we'll start off with accessories. I want to show you something first and foremost, straight away before we get too far, that he holds the gun perfectly well. But there is a slot for the trigger finger. I don't know if we've seen that before on a transforming toy. I just unpegged it. That was my doing. But I don't know if we've seen that before. Correct me if I'm wrong. In a third-party Masterpiece styled figure. I've been wrong before. But it is a thing. And it is one of those little things that just adds an element of realism that I do appreciate. Now let's get into it. So this is the gun, not a lick of paint. That's not the best thing, and there's plenty of room for some little details and nuances in here. I should also say that this is some sort of pre-production sample. I wouldn't quite say it's a test shot because it feels pretty close to being done, but it's not quote unquote officially finished either. So maybe we'll get some. My guess would be that we will not, but it could definitely use some. But the sculpt is good. Oddly enough, he comes with this adapter to what I assume is the swoop stand from looking at pictures. Forget my thumb here. I've been working on these dioramas still with Uncle Dolphin. But this, I'm guessing the whole stand is coming. I'll show you how this fits in when we get to jet mode. If the stand doesn't come and they just give this and expect you to swap out the pieces, like that would be ridiculous. So I can't imagine that is the case. I would imagine that they're just showing you how the adapter works and plan on anyway, including the whole stand with it. But stranger things have happened. We also have a light piping swap out for the eyes. There's the sculpt of the eyes. I'm not sure why you would ever do this. I'm not sure why they even included it, to be quite honest. But I don't think they've made a habit of doing that in the past, so I'm not sure why they would start now. But they do include it if that's your thing. Certainly not mine, and I certainly think it's a poor choice. He comes with an additional chest piece. Now, the chest piece that he has on here now, and this is obviously to swap out the symbol gimmick. It looks like you can just pull from underneath here. I haven't been able to get it out. I'm going to try one last time. No. And I'm not comfortable damaging this, so I'm going to leave it be. I would imagine that this is just a pull out because it looks like it's just another tab and that slides in, and that would be the end of it. And then lastly, in the box, this comes separately, are these two wings. They do articulate here. There's one thing I want to say about this that is potentially problematic. This tabs in the same way a lot of toys do. There's like a slight indentation in this piece here, and then there's two little nubs there, and then you just put pressure on it and kind of clip it around, which is fine. It's just that sometimes doing that repeatedly, now theoretically you should only need to do it once, but sometimes doing it repeatedly can wear down those little nubs. Not the biggest deal in the world, but something I did want to mention. So let's get started. I'm going to go through this fairly meticulously, and I'm going to go through this kind of piece by piece all across the board because it's an expensive piece. People have been really looking forward to it, and I think it deserves maybe a little bit more critical care in how we look at this. So let's start with the head. We have this flat gray. We have the chrome blue eyes, which does look amazing. I love the way that Fanstoys does the eyes. It really brings life into a character, and I think the face sculpt is great. I've seen people post pictures in the groups. I'm more of a lurker, to be quite honest, but I've seen people post pictures that they've come across on the internet and what have you, and like they find these I don't know, these angles that don't look good. I can tell you that in hand, I have had a difficult time finding an angle, maybe that one, that doesn't look good. I think the face sculpt is really well done. Blue paint on the crest there, and then we have silver paint on the sides and a dark silver, almost gunmetal along the edge of the helmet, which does give a layer of depth to it and I think works really well. Articulation, we have this translucent piece of plastic in there too. Articulation wise, it's a hinge swivel, which I do think is the best way of doing business. Unfortunately, you don't get much down, just a little bit, and I think for big bots, it's very important to have the ability to look down. So that's a bit of a bummer, but you do get a fair bit up and you get the swivel. So all in all, it works pretty well. For the arms, a couple interesting decisions made here, and I got to admit, smart ones at that. They're universal joints basically for the shoulder. You get up to here, you can move this is on a swivel, this shoulder pad, so you can hide a bit of the sculpt there. You can then rotate it and get more of the articulation, and it still brings the sculpt well together and hides the joint for the most part. Really well done. So you get 90 degrees, that's ratcheted out. Soft ratchet forward and back, giving you 360 if you can move around the wings. I don't think you'll feel limited there in any way, shape, or form. Bicep swivel. And then we have this elbow joint. This is also interesting. So we have a nice clean sculpt here, and then we have an elbow on a single hinge, but gets you the full range. You can also have this little piece out, because I think aesthetic wise it's supposed to be out. I can't remember, but then you can kind of push it in and hide it. It's really well done and works extremely well, and I think it's another kind of unique thing that we're not used to seeing, that goes a fair distance with me anyway. Bicep swivel, like we said. So we have a little bit of silver paint there, and that's it. For the wrist, it's on a ball peg, which gets you the swivel at the hand, and it gets you an outward movement on the wrist, but not a forward movement. The fingers are all individually articulated, and it's relatively something new for Fanstoys, which is the thumb is on a ball peg that comes out to a hinge. That's fine. And then there's an additional hinge, so you get full articulation of the thumb. These fingers are all done on hinges, which, as you know, I'm okay with individually articulated fingers as long as they are on hinges and not ball pegs, especially at the base knuckle, which these are. But they also have hinges at the base knuckle. So not only does that allow you to get the trigger finger in, and there's 3 joints, just like a properly articulated finger. Not only can you get the finger in there, but you can also get a little bit more expression in the posing of the hands. I don't think I've seen them do that before. I know Toyworld has done it, and I think it's a good thing to adapt. And it's the same for the other side. And now we reach our first real trouble in paradise, which I will get to. But we have silver accents here and here, and then black accents here, and then the vents are painted black, I believe. They may be different pieces. I think they're painted. And then we have the red stripe that's painted well across the chest. We have the silver underneath. I think this opens. I haven't actually tried. It looks like it does. Yeah. So silver accents underneath and chrome, and then translucent blue over top, giving a nice detailed look. Now the problem is no waist swivel. That's a bummer. That's a real bummer. we have the same sort of detailings down here with the silver underneath and then the red translucent on top and then red paint triangle details on the side of the hips. Also for this portion of it, we'll talk about this now, these hip flaps do raise out to the side. They're on hinges and allow for the articulation of the hips, which we will now get to. So we have universal joints. They aren't ratcheted inward and outward, so a lot of people will be happy. I am not one of those people, but people feel funny about that. So you're in luck. Little tight, feels like a potential. You know, that's that Fanstoys squeak, right? It's a different octave of squeak, but it's still there. And range wise, though, it gets you a good range. They're ratcheted forward and back. To about the same degree, which is to say maybe 10 degrees, 15 degrees off of full range, which I think is ultimately fine, especially for a bot of this size. The thigh swivel's built into the bottom of the universal, and there's not a lick of paint on the entire thigh or hip. All right, so we have another swivel at the, at the knee. Once again, a little squeaky, not on this one. Then we have a single ratcheted knee joint, which gets you 90 degrees. So that's fine. And it's a good feeling ratchet, I will add. We have red chrome paint on these side vents here, and it is breathtaking. A beautiful red. We'll get back to that. And then we have this here. You can unclip these pieces here and then move this up, which will allow you to get more of an ankle tilt up if you need it. You get an ankle tilt all the way down, and then on a hinge, you get a rocker. Now this plate here doesn't move, so the rocker is limited, but it is definitely there. I don't think you would, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's enough, to be honest with you, but it is, for most stances, I think you'll be fine. Paint detailing wise, you have this gunmetal silver all on the inside of the calf, and it does look good. And then for funsies, you just have this like little metal piece that they're not painting because it kind of looks like a cool accent, which is a release button for the leg for transformation. And then for the back, we have the backpack, which we can flatten a bit, which is not obnoxious. Looks good. I think they did a great job. This is styrofoam from it. We have the white paint. Same sort of detailings here with the chrome detailings underneath and then the blue translucent over top. These articulate obviously if you want to go that route. And yeah, so the last thing I want to talk about before we move on to transformation, all right, I guess we'll do size comparisons next. That'll be fun. The last bit that I want to talk about though is the lack of paint on this thing. Now, this is what I'm going to say. This red chrome here is brilliant. If that was applied to this, I would be in love. Some people might think that red is too dark, so I get that. But I personally would be in love. The other thing is the lack of finish on the white. Now, if this was almost any other company, I would have expected it. But from Fanstoys, they do have a reputation of having a finish on most items. And this one definitely falls short of that level. It's not bad in terms of how it presents in person, but it's not necessarily what you would expect when you think of Fanstoys and how their figures and their finished pieces ultimately present themselves on a shelf. There he is with Masterpiece Starscream, Optimus, and as you can see, Optimus' the top of his ears come up to about the mid-abdomen of Jetfire. And for a sense of perspective, TFC's Prometheus. So he's a big fella. Now, as most of you know, I believe that scale is in the eye of the beholder. I think whatever feels right to you is what is right for you. The only reason why I use the Sunbow scale chart is because it is a point of reference for intention. And if we look at it, there's Optimus's ears coming up to that pink line there, if it'll focus. And if we move that pink line or purple line or pink line across, we'll see that it intersects at about Jetfire's mid-abdomen. So I think what they were trying to go for, they achieved. Let's go. We'll open this up here. Make sure that the thumb is flush and the fist is made into like a proper looking fish, which is like a fist, except not spelled nor pronounced the same. Good grief, Bobby. All right, and then close this up. No problem. Other side, same deal. No problem. Unlatch this bit at the pelvis, and then on the neck, we want to break away the head, so to speak, and the backpack, which I do just by pulling the head, I guess, and it kind of all comes apart there. At the top, untab these pieces and flip them around to the other side. Take the canopy and pull it out and leave it up and over on the back. On the canopy itself, you'll find this flap, untab it, push it around, it folds here, push it all the way through to the other side. Take the head, utilizing these hinges, fold it down and then inside of the torso. And then just do your best to keep it out of the way. Take these front chest panels and pull them out on both sides. This one moves easier than this one, but neither one of them are all that difficult. Make sure that this shoulder flap is down as far as it will go towards the hands, and rotate this whole panel piece here 180, collapsing it down. You can also move this piece around and then close that. That's a bit of a tight tolerance as well. So we'll do it again. We're gonna fold this piece all the way around. We're gonna rotate this piece and then we're gonna fold this piece in. Now, we want to have these pieces together. And what am I doing wrong here? I don't know why, it does eat me up. This is like that little extra thing, so to speak, does eat me up. There it is. All right. Make sure that that is flush and that these pieces are sitting like this, and then collapse them. And then you can collapse these side panels in. Unfortunately, we have to do a couple things before we can start to really solidify this, but we're getting close. You gotta separate these hips, and I can tell you it doesn't give you the warm and fuzzies to do so. Rotate them up, and this will tab back into that lower slot in there. And then that's done. We'll do the same on the other side. There. For the feet, untab these side portions like I showed you to get that ankle tilt. Open this up. Fold the toe around the engine and then fold the whole piece up, and then you can lock that back into place. And we'll do that on the other side as well. Fold it up, lock it in. Using these release buttons on the back, close them up, and then this will plug in both into the right in, I can't see if you can see that, right there and right here. I was trying to show you the tabs. Let's see how easy it is without, trying to purposefully show you. Not too bad. We're then going to open up this bottom piece here, which gives you access, it's hard to see, there. And we're gonna fold this piece out and fold this piece out. And this is gonna come down, and then we can fold the nose cone out as well. And then all this locks in. All this stuff here tabs in here, 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 and down in there. Come on. There. I don't know why I'm having difficulty getting that to stay locked in. I'll mess with it off camera and see if I can't fix it. And then you can close that up as well. You can then take your crotch piece and lock it back in. Next, we're gonna open this piece here. We gotta fold this out. I'll do it now or else I won't remember to do it later. And you can actually use these to kind of help. I mean, it's not good, trust me, because it's just putting pressure, but you gotta split these. And it's a tight tolerance, and it's hard to get a good grip where you don't feel like you're putting stress on the rest of it. Then you can bring these down, and then all of this will come back. Let me lock this into place. And these will lock in here, those will lock in there, and then this piece will go in between. And I'm still not wide enough. There. We'll just leave that like that for now. And then, let's make sure this is flat. Oh, my head is all jammed up. There. And then we can put this down. This will lock into here. And then the last thing we have to do, and like I said, mine is, I'll mess with this and see if I can't get it open wider, but you get the point. Last thing you do is spread the wings, so to speak. You know, you spread your wings too. That's what I want for you. And then you slide them in, and then these pieces underneath expand to fill out the wing. And it's the same for the other side. So I'm going to try to widen this out just a bit more to get the clearance for this, and we'll take a look at it. It is massive, and I'm just going to do a size comparison real quick, and then I'm going to go handheld. There's Tiger Tracks. You know I have to do that. So I'm going to go handheld. Forgive me. Get my Spike Lee on. But it's beautiful. They did a really great job. It's maybe a little long, you know, but I think it almost looks sleeker this way. I can't really come up with anything to really ding this thing for. The only thing that I would say is that the leg section, like, I wish there was something that, even if it was a parts forming piece, maybe the gun goes in there, I'll have to take a look, that kept these two things, tension on these two things, because this does feel a little insecure in the back here, whereas the rest of it feels very secure. I did get this finally to go. That is a bit of a pain, but all in all, I mean, it's really well done. There's landing gear underneath. I think it's pretty obvious how it operates, but there's a flap there, you fold it in, and then the knee flaps, same thing. I mean, it's good. It's really quite good. I'm not sure if I'm showing you all that you want to see, but the wings do, of course, move back and forth. You know, depending on what angle you want them, but they definitely go for the traditional angle. So yeah, solid, Mac. Final thoughts wise, I wish I could say this is perfect, but it's not. We got a couple things we need to talk about. There's some articulation issues. The ankle does rock, but the angle could be better. You could get a lot more out of that ankle rocker if they would have put a hinge right there to allow for a little bit more movement. Maybe even up here, but then it has to lock in, so I get it. But yeah, I want more there. Waist swivel. Oh, come on, Mac. We should have a waist swivel on this thing. It's an expensive piece. There's a couple little tolerance issues, like getting that backpack to slide open and stuff, but it's very, very minor. There's some little squeaks in the hips, at least in this version that I have. If that bothers you, then that's going to bother you. It doesn't bother me, but it's definitely worth noting. And then the last thing is the lack of paint. You know, and if it was any other company, I would be just fine with it, but it's from a company that I've come to expect the highest of caliber of paint jobs from, and this doesn't have that. The paint that is applied well. It's very clean, it's very crisp, it's very appropriate. It's just if it would have had that Fanstoys finish, you know, that Galvatron finish, it would have put this thing in a whole different bracket. All that being said, though, you know, without having instructions and everything and getting through this review relatively quickly, I didn't have a whole lot of time to mess with this. I am going to pat myself on the back for, I think, doing everything properly. And I think covering all the bases. All right, so I'll just put him back in his packaging. Got the flight stand. I forgot to show the flight stand in No! So, sorry about not showing that, but I can tell you the first time I did it, I tried it, and it works. It looks like it should work. You know, we don't know for sure whether or not it will have the strength to hold up the weight of the piece, but it seems as though it will work. The problem is that he is heavy, you know, so I assume that it'll work. It'll work. Let's be positive. The sculpt on this thing, I love it. I think they did a great job. I think it reeks of the character. I think it's top shelf, outstanding. The articulation, with the exception of that waist and that rocker, it works really well across the board. And there's a lot of little neat tips and like tricks they've kind of done here that I haven't seen them do before. One being this rotating shoulder piece, I think was quite clever. The other one being that the way that the elbows work in order to create the winged look and then kind of fold away. I think that's all incredibly smart. And then I love the hinges on the sides of the fingers as well. It has a strong presence. The materials feel great. It's typical Fanstoys plastic along with die cast and translucent parts and chrome and everything else. And then, you know, the paint we've already talked about. It cleans up like a champ. And I think the alt mode really works. So it's a really, really high caliber piece, and I can tell you that I do like it a lot. Here's the thing, right? This is what it comes down to. It's a couple things. Recently, somebody reached out to me. I think it was Scott. Shout out to Scott. If it's not Scott, then I'm sorry. If someone else, but I think it was Scott. They reached out to me and said, you know, it's a shame that you don't have a better relationship with Fanstoys because, you know, you usually praise their products, and yeah, I would love to have a relationship with Fanstoys, but I think I need to be clear. I praise their products because I think that they're good products most of the time. But it's a trade, right? If someone sends me something and it's poor, I have to be fair to the product and say that I think it is poor. And the same thing has to be true. If someone is not sending me the product and I think that it's good, I have to be fair and say that it's good. And this is definitely good, and I definitely recommend it. The reason why I'm harping on a few of these things, mainly the waist articulation and the paint, is because it's so good, it could have been perfect. And because of that, it's not. And that is a bummer. It got so close to smelling perfection, and it falls just a step or two short. All in all, though, still a worthwhile figure to pick up. I definitely recommend it, and I think to date it is the greatest Skyfire Jetfire figure ever made, period. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.